to start it off.
Screams for no reason. It's been a minute since Scott's been here. I'm excited.
Hi.
Are you excited?
I am. I feel good today, so we're good.
What have you been up to?
Oh God. Honestly, just apparently caring about my physical health, which I didn't even really intend to. And I'm like, I'm just happy to report that, like, I found out because I went to the doctor, had some health scariness that wasn't really scary. Like, I lost 30 pounds from like switching the kind of bread I eat. That bread that you guys eat at your house. I lost 30 pounds because of that.
Yeah, that bread should sponsor us. 647 bread.
What's I know.
Sponsor me.
Can't do it.
Right?
And my blood pressure is back to normal, which it hasn't been in like a long time.
That's what's up.
So, like, I don't know. I just feel like, I feel less insecure about my health. So I guess that also is kind of like another weight off my shoulders,
I know that feeling, like when you feel like you have like a clean bill of health, and you're like, okay, well, that's just like one less thing that I have to worry about that intensely. I have to worry about a bazillion other things, but I don't have to worry about that in particular.
Right.
Yeah, it was kind of like when I got like my diabetes, at least like medically under control. I wouldn't say I'm nowhere near regulated by diet and exercise, but medicated and under control. Like, I felt really good about that. But then I was just at my doctor. I have like a new endocrinologist, and she was all like, "You don't exercise?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, now we're getting into the action, all right." And she was like, "Your heart, it could be weak and unhealthy." And then I was like stuck in my head, and I was like, "God damn it!" So I bought a bike trainer that I can hook up my actual bike to, and turn my my bike into a stationary bike. So I have yet to hook up the trainer. Cool. But to be fair, I bought the bike trainer, and then like we immediately went to LARP, like that weekend.
That's like that's a whole exercise in and of itself.
Yeah, the weekend that just passed where it monsooned all weekend.
Oh yeah,
that was the weekend we went LARPing.
I would like to launch off of that in that this was my first camping LARP experience.
It was, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And I feel more butch, whatever politically correct term I'm allowed to use nowadays. Because man, I wore my boots for 3 days straight. I came straight out of I just started a new job and I'm learning this new job, and I went from work to LARP immediately, and there was no cut in between. And man, that was just a whole learning experience. So that alone means we're physically fit. And fuck the bike trainer downstairs. Now we're gonna use the bike trainer, but
yeah, so we can be in better shape for LARP.
Better shape for LARP.
Yeah. This seems to be the theme, because that's another thing too I didn't mention, but I also found a queer personal trainer.
Ooh.
Who's in Philly.
Ooh.
And he specializes in like big bodies, and he himself is thick. Like, he's not like, you know what I'm saying?
He's a big dude.
Is
like the mountain from Game of Thrones.
Not like, right. So like, he seems really cool. So I'm like really excited. And like, a lot of his clientele are queer people in Philly. So
doesn't that make a world of difference? We changed our hairstylist. We've been going to the same salon that my mother's go to.
Which they're not bad. It's just
not bad at all. Love them ladies over there. But I was like, I need a queer person to cut my hair, because only a queer person is going to understand how I want my hair. And we found a new hair salon, and it's called Hair Havoc, and the guy, he's a fabulous older gay man. I don't even know his name. And
it was the best experience too, because like it always makes me so nervous when I'm at like hair salons, like get my hair cut, is small talk, because I'm not good at it, and it makes me just really uncomfortable because I don't know what to small talk about. I can't talk small, so I never know what to say. And this guy was great. He was we were comfortable in the silence. And it didn't feel awkward. Like, he wasn't really a talker, I wasn't really a talker, but like it was just very nice. And then like he was doing this, like, it was like some towel thing, or like a hot towel or something like that. I couldn't remember, and I was like, oh, like what's this like towel like with this? Or it was like a spray or something like that. I don't know. I was like, what's with that? And he's like, have you never been to a barber? And I was like, no, I have not ever been to a barber.
Where is this at?
Up by us, you'd have to travel, but if you and Darian want to make a journey of getting a haircut.
It's right around the corner from his old work, actually.
Yeah, from my old job, that's where it is.
It is a nightmare finding a queer barber. Which you would think it would be easier to find that in Philly. You really would. But it is like not easy. In my experience,
There's layers. There's layers to the different queer pockets in Philadelphia specifically.
Yeah,
for sure.
Which ones are a hot mess? Which ones are not?
Which ones congregate at Woody's? Which ones?
Cough, cough, straight cis women.
Cough, cough. Yep.
That wasn't supposed to be mean, everybody.
I
never.
I understand. I understand what you mean by it, because it's like you're realistically, anyone can go to whatever bar they choose.
Right.
And I'm sure a lot of like straight cis women go to places like Woody's and gay bars because they just want to go have drinks and dance and have fun, but they don't want to be accosted by men. And so, but there are also gay men who cannot keep their hands to themselves, and they think it's, just because you're not interested means consent. But
but Woody's in particular has a history in Philly.
Yeah.
Where a lot of queer folk that are there, whether they're cis gay males or whatnot, they feel they feel accosted, or certain people have gotten drunk and they're still flirting, and it's like, hi, thanks, stop touching me.
Oh yeah, and some of the women there, they get a little out of hand. It's like all about like respect and like knowing how to conduct yourself, and
that's where I'm at. Like I don't mind when
not to sound like Victorian era, but like etiquette classes. I don't know. Like, do we gotta?
Queer spaces are for queer people, and you're invited in, but respect the space. That's what I think.
That's any space, though. You don't go to somebody's house where they take their shoes off and barge in with your boots on. It's just baseline respect.
Exactly.
Which is why my mother nearly died the first day that she met Rue ages and ages and ages ago. We were still in college. I don't know, you came over to my house for something, can't remember. And you took your shoes off at the door, like that wasn't the issue, but it was that you crossed your leg under your other leg, and so your foot was on the couch, and that was a deal breaker for my mother. And now we're married.
And she spent 3 weeks at my house, and you know what? I offered her a joint, something to relax. I had known her to smoke before while around her husband, and she was so contact high from the amount of cannabis that me and Jay were smoking that she never had to partake herself. Also, my mother's came over, and I cooked dinner for everybody, and between the food and the marijuana smoke and the cigarette smoke outside, and it's just like you couldn't detect anything.
Thinking of like a lady reacting to having your foot up on the couch makes me what was it, want to write a short book or like a short novel and have it be like where was I even going with this? No, I can't remember it. I had a really funny title for what I would call that with a book. No, it's fine. It's just fine. It was like white women and something. It was like white women and disproportionate reactions, or like white women and
smoke.
No, it was about just like having like your foot touch the fucking couch, and then she's like,
right, and it's like your foot enclosed, like in a sock. It wasn't like in a shoe, you know? Like,
This woman literally touched one of our intimates.
oh
Not
yeah.
knowing what it was.
That was hilarious. This was the best part. So like, you know, she was here for a while. She only packed like one of a small bag, like a small carry-on bag. And so she had to do laundry a couple times. And so, you know, we'll throw her laundry in with our laundry, whatever. Well, I had a pair of like shorts with like the O-ring in them. Like packing shorts, strap-on shorts, whatever way you call them. So those were, you know, in the laundry. I had cleaned them, and then for some fucking reason, that is the exact pair of underwear that she decides to pick up and goes, "Wow, these are so small. Your butt's so small." Like, for no fucking reason. And I was like, "Oh yeah, let me go take those upstairs."
Can you see how face? I can't zoom in. You can see how red my face is. So no filter can hide that.
So like that was like how the 3 weeks went with my mother being here. We did take her to a gay bingo though, and that was an experience.
Oh, an experience. I was hoping like that was a lot of fun.
No, it was. It was a lot of fun.
I remembered the title, The Petty Spite of White Women.
The Petty Spite of White Women. Yes, I love it. Featuring my mother as the main character.
Good lord.
Oh, hey Ken.
Anyways.
Welcome to the chat. You got the game you're playing on your phone. Oh, you sent me a friend request on that game. That is what's up. So I started playing this new mobile game. Y'all
Not
are
sponsored.
Right, not sponsored, but sponsor us because the game is dope.
Raid Shadow Legends.
It's got a way cooler name than that.
We are actually not paid by Raid Shadow Legends. That is a joke for full disclosure.
I know, it's like every fucking YouTuber, streamer, gamer bro is like sponsored by Raid Shadow
Next thing
Legends.
you know, Raid Shadow Legends is gonna find out that we fucking name drop them on our stream and be like, "Hey,
They're gonna send us a bill.
Jokingly keep name dropping us." No, they're not gonna send us a bill. They're gonna send us a check.
Should we like
pay people to do it?
Right? Like, should we like ironically promote them?
We're a little slow on this. Here's $10. You know. We didn't agree to it ahead of time, but you did some good work there, pal. Snuck it in there right in the middle. That's what we like to see.
Wait, let me plug. So the name of this game is DisLyte. DisLyte. And
I typed it in the chat.
Type it in the chat. DisLyte is a gotcha game.
So like it's kind of like your typical gacha game. Like, you know, you get summons and heroes and you have a party and you can do the auto battle thing. So that's kind of like what the mechanics of the game are, but the story that goes along with it. So it's like this calamity happens. I think they called it the miracle is what they called it, and it's basically like all this god energy just like flooded into the world and imbued humans with traits of gods. And so kind of like that game, that tabletop game that Rue talks about all the time, Scion. Basically it imbues these humans with like, you know, Artemis powers and Apollo powers and a ton of other Bast is in it. I never know if it's like Bastet or Bast, or I never know if the proper way to pronounce that. But
is it Odin or Woden?
Right, like is it Odin or Woden?
It's both.
It's both.
Depends where you're from, I guess.
Yeah, it's similar to how. Okay, never mind. I was just
I was just
word spirit.
Yeah, I was just saying the game is pretty cool if you like games like that, but it's just a take on that. It's kind of like Scion in a mobile game.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool.
I recommend you all check it out.
It's a cool game to kill time, like especially if you're in a job like mine.
Work was a little slow today, so I had it like propped up like aside of me, and I was like,
yeah. Oh, here's some shit I did today, y'all. I went to the local occult shop here. So have you seen those Saint Bimbo candles?
Yes, you know what? I saw that exact picture that like I think you shared somewhere. I can't remember where you shared it. But I saw that exact same picture. I was going to send it to you, and then I got distracted because I immediately thought of you
I
when
beat
I
you to it.
first saw
First
it.
off, it's a votive candle sticker from an artist called Art
Oh.
Attack. Second off, I bought 2 of them and they're on their way. And third, I have pink votive candles prepared to pair with them so I can have Saint Bimbo candles on my altar. And fourth, I emailed the author or not the author, the creator, to see if she'd be okay with us taking a photo of the candle and using it in Liber LS Volume 3, and she said yes.
That's what's
Nice.
So we're gonna
up.
have
That's really
Saint
cool.
Bimbo kind of just cameoed in.
Can't wait for Saint Bimbo to be
Liber LS
spinning
Volume
up
3.
as the next part of the DKM you got for him somehow.
Well, I mean, no, she's her own thing. She's not a DKMU god.
Well, yeah, but you know,
But,
adjacent, I suppose.
But also that goes out to y'all in here. If you had anything you wanted to collaborate to the Liber Sigillum, or not Sigillum, Liber LS Volume 4, please, Scott, Jay, Rue, if y'all had like any art pieces or like things you wanted to add, like Jay, you name drop DKMU and do more work for DKMU than a lot of people who consider themselves actual hardcore marauders. So.
You know what I was actually thinking? I was doing some research on like stickers and like because I was looking at like packaging and I was looking like for a shop and I started going down the rabbit hole of like, well, I really wanted to be like recycled materials, biodegradable stuff, you know. And I found this company, they do biodegradable stickers. And I was thinking that would be a really neat idea for the linking sigil. That you print up the linking sigil on these biodegradable stickers and you stick them everywhere. But not only does like, because it's not just like a regular sticker, like, you know, it's made out of like, you know, hazardous materials or toxic materials. But like the fact that it will biodegrade, but it sinks in, you know, like to wherever it is, like it gets into wherever it's stuck to, like the wood, the stone, the whatever. I thought that would be really a neat idea.
That's actually really cool.
Interesting.
I like that idea.
And just, you could do that with sigils in general. Like, that could be a really cool way to do a spell using a sigil. You know, the fact that it wears down over time and it just sinks into the spot or whatever it is that you're doing with that.
Watch me ward my house with sticker.
Oh, shit. I'm gonna come home one day and be like, don't look at the credit card. I did a thing. I ordered 1,000 biodegradable stickers.
You know, I just have kind of a big brain moment. There's always a backlog on editing episodes, aren't there?
Yes.
Always.
That means that whatever we record, which is always going to be an episode anyways, whoever is here live doesn't have to miss a beat.
Yeah, and that's kind of really the appeal, I guess, to doing a live show is if anyone is particularly like they're on it and they're super current, you know, and they want to hear what's happening in real time, this would be the way for them to do it. I've personally never been that caught up on a podcast where I've been able to do that or wanted to do that, but if y'all are that dedicated, I appreciate you, and here we are.
It's easier to be caught up on live streams too, especially ones like us that don't require you to like watch the previous episode like Critical Role might. You can just tune in at any episode.
I don't think we could
that we're live for.
I don't think we could like keep up with our own plot lines. Like, I think there would just be plot holes in every episode, and we'd fuck our own canon. And
I have wanted.
Not
so
if I'm the
bad.
dungeon master. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I have wanted so bad to get into Critical Role and like watch it, and I'm like, I don't have the energy or time to dedicate to watching that much content.
no,
Truly,
at work though.
I can tell you how to do it.
At work on your phone, like, because like a background noise thing.
Now's a great time to do it.
You can't listen to voices when you're working?
No.
Yeah.
Because most of the time I'm trying to do numbers.
Yeah, I noticed that too because my job requires numbers. I can't listen to podcasts. I can only listen to music for some reason.
I can listen to music and if I need to focus on like doing like knocking out like 6 things at once. I pop an earbud in, I put some music on. I could be listening to like death metal, and I'm like da 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 da, and
But
like I could focus.
if you did ever want to get into Critical Role, they did finish their campaign 2, which was really long form. They've started campaign 3 now, and a side campaign that goes alongside it, so you can watch one of those at a time. And they only air 3 episodes a month as opposed to 4, so you no longer have to sit through 20 hours a month. It's like 15, 12, depending. So it's a lot easier.
Manageable.
And if you do it in podcast form, while you're not working, because like you do have to pay attention to it, you could like be playing a video game while you do it, or walking, because you don't have to watch the screen and sit there for it. So it's really easy to catch up.
When we set up the
And
bike
when
trainer,
you're caught up, yeah, and when you're caught up, it's as easy as tuning in once a night, like a couple times a month, you know?
No, like honest, what you said, Jay, like that bike trainer. I'm like, I'm gonna catch up on every long show I can possibly think of and get this then.
so skinny, a little skinny.
All day long, all day.
No, that's how I used to. That's how I used to work out. Like when me and Rick were going to the gym, like I would be like, I'm gonna be on the elliptical for 2 episodes of this anime, and I would just like watch it on my phone.
That's clever, actually.
Because working
I
out
like
is
that.
boring as fuck. So
It is really boring.
yeah, I'm just like, okay, what else you got for me?
I'm gonna sound like such a dude bro, but I need to fucking pump stacks of iron if I'm at the gym. Like, you should see me crank out my shoulders. Do you want me to flex because I'm on camera?
Go
ahead, do it.
baby.
Do it. Nice.
Whoa. Damn.
Yeah,
I'm
I
straight up
have
fucking
I
wrecked.
have desk
Like-
job muscles.
Like, I could absolutely knock people out.
I have bye-bye arms. Yay! There they are.
My mom called them bingo arms. Bingo. Killed me.
Yeah, most people ain't ready for my shoulders to do the like thing where they like ripple like that. And they're like, it's like, yeah, I can
It just
lift you up.
reminded me this TikTok video. This little girl, she drives a big rig, and it was just a video of her opening the hood of her trunk of her car, of their truck, whatever, and like it literally lifted her off the ground. Like she pulled it.
Excuse me.
That's
I was just like, yes, yes, queen. I just warms my heart.
yeah.
I aspire to
So-
be as buff as Sophia.
Mhm.
I do.
I was
It's
just
just-
talking to a friend of mine, and
What?
I said that my goal is to be more Bara and less Truffle Shuffle.
I like it.
that.
I like it.
While I have
Beautiful.
good physical strength, I need to get my cardio up, and I plan to run this year.
Oh, you're running. Nice.
Good for you.
A big thing.
I like
with it for
running a
me
lot.
is because
I enjoy it.
the impact is really bad for me because I have hypermobility. Like, check this out. My nose just flattens.
Mm.
Like, you can't break my nose. It just flattens across my face.
Mm.
And like my
Mhm.
thumb just kind of goes down to my arm like that, like
Mm.
all the
Oh,
way, like no
yeah.
gap in between that. Yeah.
I actually
So-
did. I only learned recently that sort of situation, that what did you call it, hypermobility?
Hypermobility.
It
Yeah.
actually has like due to the certain like the specific genetic markers that make that occur. There's
Mhm.
actually like health implications like throughout the lifespan, which I actually didn't
There
know
is.
that, to be honest. I only recently
Mhm.
found that out. I was watching something with doctors talking about science.
That's because it has to do with your ability to make cartilage being impacted, so you make less, and therefore you're more flexible. It's also by like, look, I have tiny little ears.
Hmm.
I have tiny little elf ears. They're pointy.
You
Look
do
at
have
that.
pretty small ears.
And they don't have earlobes.
Hmm.
So much.
See, Scott, I literally have
Genetics are
half elf
cool.
ears.
Oh yeah, you do. Mm-hmm.
I'm a half
Did I
elf.
tell you?
I'm a leprechaun. I'm convinced now.
What did you tell us, Scott?
there was just this funny brief encounter with my backyard neighbors. So I recently started doing magic again, and I finally consecrated my black book that I got during Christmas 2020. And I went out there and like I had everything. I was like, it's nice and quiet today. And I go out there, and of course, like as soon as I get like all my stuff, right, I'm like, I forgot something. And I run back in, I go back out, and all of a sudden there's everyone in the yard. I'm like, God damn it. So
Why?
anyway, I'm like, you know what? They could think I'm crazy. I really don't give a damn. So I'm just gonna start doing my damn thing. And anyway, as I'm like preparing and I'm like setting up incense and I'm doing my thing, they like peek their heads over their yard and they're looking into the neighbor's yard and they're like, it's a mess back there, blah blah blah, and they're like judging the neighbor. Which don't get me wrong, that particular neighbor is a little, they're a little odd, but like, they make a lot of noise and yell a lot. But anyway, and I like had lit my incense and I was like, I consecrated it and I was like praying over it or whatever. And I lit it, and the one lady goes, "What's that smell?" And the lady that's with her goes, "It's the yard. It's a mess." And she goes, "No, it smells nice." And then she looks right at me, and like was about to like look away as if she didn't want to acknowledge me. And I go, "I'm burning incense." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then just as like she turns her head again, I hear the other lady try to whisper, "He's burning incense, all right." And I was like, bitch, if I was smoking weed, I ain't offering you none anyway. But I just thought that was funny. I was like, why you gotta say that? Why you gotta be shady?
Because it's South Philly, that's why.
Because they got nothing better to do.
That's their whole lives. They're depressed under capitalism and they need to just punch down.
But let me tell you something. When I started calling, I did the I decided for the book I wanted to call Compass with the from the Azoedia, and they went in real fast.
Oh, from the
So-
Azuesha? Fuck yeah.
Of course.
And I was like, bye-bye. I was like, I guess it worked, huh?
Bye.
Hell yeah.
It's funny. I'm very glad that you mentioned getting back into magic and like doing magic again, because I have sped through. Well, I'm going to go back and read it more carefully, but I'll hold up in front of the camera. Thorn Mooney's The Witch's Path. This was an excellent book. It's really, really good if you are at a low point, or maybe just low energy, or you're feeling stuck in your craft, or like something of that nature, or you're just looking to reboot. That's really the book that I would really recommend you read. Because what she does is she takes like, because I've been feeling this, right? I've been thinking about how I felt, the mindset I was in when I first started getting into Wicca, right? Because that was my introduction into the occult. So I was just remembering, I was like, I miss that feeling of like excitement and like, oh, like that, this new book, I didn't see this book before, or, because like things were a little bit more limited at the time. And just like the sense of wonder of like when you stumble upon these websites and stuff like that, and my little shoebox that I kept all my things in, and how hard it was to acquire those items, or like when you would find little trinkets, like how you just kept them. And I just remember that, and sometimes like as an adult, like I just think I'm so weighed down by the pressures of everything else, because like as a kid, I mean, I had school, but like I wasn't working full time and like keeping a house together, and like I had pets, or I didn't have any of that going on. I just had myself, school, family, and friends. And the way that Thorn really writes in this, like I'm pretty sure that me and Thorn Mooney are the same person, because just the way that she was talking about, because it seems like she often takes a lot of like leadership roles and stuff like that in like the community. So basically everything that she was saying there like really spoke to me, in the sense of like sometimes you have to step back from the groups you're leading, or the project you're running, or this and that, and you just have to get back to your own magic first and get yourself back into it, and ask yourself like, how did you feel when you first started, or maybe research something that you have never researched before, maybe research something or take a take a class or something like that in something that maybe made you feel uncomfortable or you thought it was cringy or whatever. And just like every point that she makes in the book, I really can't disagree with a single thing that she wrote in this. And it's very rare for me to come across a book like that. She just puts it really plainly, and she is also like neurodivergent. Like she mentions in the book that, you know, she takes medication for depression, anxiety, and she's like not afraid to talk about that kind of thing. And I just it was just an amazing book, and I really recommend that everyone read it regardless of kind of what path you're on, because it's really just about practicing magic in general and not really about any one particular tradition.
So a couple things. Just to the point you made about her being like leadership position, she is a high priestess in a fully functioning Alexandrian traditional Wiccan coven.
Gardnerian.
Is it Gardnerian? I thought she's Alexandrian.
In the book she kept saying she was Gardnerian, so
Oh, she's Gardnerian.
Foxfire Coven, I think, is her coven.
Oh, okay. So Gardnerian. Traditional Wiccan. So there's that. Also, too, the one conversation I had with her, and it was really nice. We were actually talking about a video she made years ago on her YouTube, when she was standing up for practitioners of magic who have mental illness. There was a big theme at the time of people trying to say that if you have mental illness, that you can't practice magic effectively because your soul is
corrupted, tainted, whatever,
broken, or you know, you're not fully there to use magic. It was this ridiculous sort of take on and it was horrible.
Some ableist hot take
on they tried to sort of take the idea that in older thought, the idea was that sickness was in part spiritual and in part physical, like, you know, disease, demons, it was part, you know, mundane, and they try to kind of do like this weird sort of thing with that and made it something that it's not.
Reaching.
Yeah, and yeah, just became like really ableist and dumb. And she was talking to fight back against this stance, and I was just like, thank you so much for talking about this. And we had she was just very pleasant about it. She's just, you know, really great author. I watch more of her YouTube, but I do want to get that book in particular. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an excellent book, and she even goes like into like how to like critically read websites and like how and for information, and also like red flags to look out for with community groups that you're gonna join. It's just, it's really like, she wrote it as because she says in the book, she's like, I was, you know, I was one of those people, and I sometimes still do it, like there's no advanced books, you know, there's all these beginner books and there's no advanced books. And so she wrote this kind of like as an advanced book, but it's really not advanced in that sense. It's just like, I honestly recommend it for anyone starting out. It's probably the better beginner book in my mind, because it takes away all of the rules. Because like I remember the early Scott Cunningham books that I read, you know, Harm None, and you know, This Is the Only Way It's Done, Light and Love, White Witchcraft, Black Witchcraft, you know, like No Curses, No Hexes. And I just remember like that was a big part of my personal paradigm for such a long time. And with this, she takes all of that away, and she's just like, it's just witchcraft. What you do with it is what you do with it, not what any, like, it doesn't even matter, because even if you are a part of a coven that has established traditions and rituals and everything like that, at the end of you're not with your coven 24 hours a day, 24/7. Right. You're not with them, and so still your witchcraft is yours. And I just thought that was a really great message.
That also opens up a whole topic that I want to talk about. Like, because I was at the occult shop today, like I mentioned, and I didn't just grab those 2 votive candles. I plugged a bunch of books to the person who works there, because I'm always trying to get more authors out there. And we talked about it in another episode, how there seems to be like a generational divide between older Wiccans and witches and ones of our generation. Whereas like people in our group, there's like so much new material that we're reading. Like any one of us can list off at least 2 books that were made in the past 15 years, just off the top of our head, who've been reading Magick books pretty consistently. That's not a tough task, right? Like for example, Psychic Witch and Quantum Sorcery by Dave Smith, right there. That's 2 really easy ones. But I've heard a sentiment from a lot of older practitioners that there's nothing new out there and there's nothing good being made. So like 1, I know that's false. 2, that means that like the community is kind of falling into information silos, which is when you kind of get into your own little batch of information and everything reinforces it. And if you've ever been stuck in a grain silo, it literally can crush you and you can't get out because the weight of all those little granular things, and the further you struggle, the more you get in and the more screwed you are. Like there's huge things, right? The term information silo is very, very, very accurate to describe that, right? But also it begs another question. What does like high level witch content look like,
Yep.
right? And that's the fucking thing. Not like with DKMU, like we could sit here because we're actively writing Liber LS 3, like volume 3 right now, and there's articles and poetry in there and stuff. But what does it mean to be advanced? Is it like someone sitting down and doing a dissertation on words and the wording structure? Because like we have a whole episode on that, and that's just people talking about it, right? There's like a lot of nuanced things, but I feel like what I would quote advanced witchcraft is something that manages to capture the wonder of the real thing in the wording of what they're doing without telling you what it is and without making you think that you can't have it yourself or it's not worth pursuing. If anything, it's wonder fuel that makes you want to chase the mystery all that more because of how much you feel connected just by reading it and how much it makes you feel like you're coming home. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I feel.
I get where you're coming from, and it kind of to the point that I was going to make, it kind of fits. I also recently another author just had a book publish, release date recently. Jason Miller, Working with Spirits. That's essentially the topic of the book. I can't remember the title off the top of my head at the moment, but someone, a respected occult YouTuber, did a book review, and he was talking about how and I didn't watch the whole video, but he had brought up briefly this sort of idea that it's not beginner, but and but he also, from what I understood, he had brought up sort of what does that mean? What is beginner? What is And it's interesting because once again I lost interest, not because it was an interesting video. I have a short attention span lately, but I have previously thought that I think at times we are also too protective. Also, I think we're kind of like, don't read this, which is almost contradictory to certain things I've said in the past, which is fine. I don't mind growing, and I think that maybe proceed with caution, I suppose, but at the same time, I don't think there's anything that should be off limits. I think that even when the new students of Magick, whatever that tradition may be, when they read these books that would be seen as maybe advanced or whatever, the wonder fuel, you know what I mean? I think it's cool to see these really intricate graphs and read these really intricate these intricate spells, these I just purchased The Witch's Cabinet by Corinne Boyer, her latest title, and there's this wonderful spell for creating a charm for second sight using Hawthorne, and it is incredibly involved, and it is it would at least have to be a year-long expanse due to this sort of folkloric needing to collect certain things on midsummer and needing to collect certain things in the autumn. And it's definitely based on the old craft style of magic, right? Tides of nature, and kind of you don't rush your craft, you let it build, you kind of build your like a recipe, that kind of old craft style. And I think that those kind of things, at least for me, when I would read those kind of spells, even though when I was first starting out, I didn't understand any of it, right? Like why we did those things, what any of that meant, I had no idea. But I knew that it sounded magical. I knew that it sounded, and it made me excited to see these intricate spells, these wonderful like philosophies and theories. And so I 100% get where Sophia's coming from.
A lot of times, like sometimes when I write spells, sometimes I write them very, I guess, in a modern sense of like materials list, step 1, or kind of like write them like a script, honestly. That's pretty much how I write. But there are times when I have written a spell in a more fantastical kind of way. Almost like you would find in an old grimoire or an old, whatever, like magic book. And sometimes those spells feel more magic to me. A lot of times because they sound so cryptic. And it's almost like sometimes I'll look back on them and I'll be like, sometimes they're even cryptic to myself. I'm like, what was I writing? Like, what was, I didn't actually do it. I just get like inspired for certain types of spells and things like that. And I just kind of write them down and I revisit them again. I'm like, I don't even know where that came from.
Absolutely. I mean, I've
and that's called shadow work, I guess.
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, one of the best things I wrote was at like a Yule ritual kind of thing where I drank mugwort tea and I just did like a kind of like automatic writing. I just kind of like wrote whatever I was seeing and hearing and feeling, and it was actually like probably one of the best things I've ever written. I'm really proud of it. I would like to do that more in my practice. I've been realizing I'm like, I don't really play to my strengths. And I was kind of thinking about this too. Something I wanted to mention was another thing that Thorn was talking about in her book was about because of the way the modern world is, nature feels like something that we have to attain. Like we have to go get it. We have to go we have to go connect to it. Like we're not just always connected to it. Like we have to go connect to it. And I guess it's more prevalent if you live in like a city or even like a kind of like tight suburb kind of area. And I've been feeling that too. And what she was saying is she's like, what we have to understand is nature is not just the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Nature is the weeds that grow in the cracks in the sidewalk. It is your garden in front of your house, the patch of weeds over there, the vacant lot. It's anything that has sprouted up in between the concrete and the brick and the wood and all that kind of stuff. And I think kind of like what I've almost been like ashamed, and I think Scott, you can kind of like sympathize, like empathize with this a bit. Like you almost feel ashamed to call yourself a witch and to love and respect nature as much as you do, but you live in a city, right? And you look out and your backyard is concrete. You know what I mean? And you're just like, damn, like it's not what I want ultimately. It's what I have right now. It's what I have. It's what I'm working with. And I think for a while I held such resentment in that. And like I would look outside at like, the rocks in front of my house or the fucking trash that's in front of my house I have to pick up. And I just get so mad, and I think I'm trying to think about it differently now. I'm like, it's beautiful. Like the things that still pop up, that come through, it's still beautiful and nature's still here. Land spirits are still here. Mm-hmm. They probably just really haven't been getting any attention, which is why we can't hear them and interact with them yet, like we have to reach out to them. So that's just something else
really,
I wanted to
like if you like sorry, I don't mean to go on this tangent, but if you ever took the time and have nothing particular to do, like don't be going anywhere, but to just hit the city, no intentions, just hit the pavement and walk. Wear nice shoes. Trust me, I've done this before, and it hurts by the end of the day. But wear nice shoes. But you will come upon not just spirits, but urban magic. It just sort of happens. I don't know if it's like, which attracts which kind of thing. We instinctually, unconsciously are attracted to it. But, I remember walking, I think I've told this story before, but it's bears repeating. I was coming back from a gaming shop, the Unicorn, with the here in Philly.
Yeah, I know that shop. Yeah.
I was coming back from there, and I was with Darian and a very, very, I don't know how to put them, my friend Chris. He's very agnostic, leaning atheist, due to trauma. But anyway, I remember all of a sudden me and him were like, we walked past this sigil, right? It was this big sigil, and it was very, very, it was just very sigilly. And literally at the same time, like, it was the energy that caught our attention. Me and him we stopped, and literally at the same time, me and Darian didn't notice that we were noticing it at the same time. We went, oh, at the same time. And Chris goes, what just happened? And he goes, you two just reacted to that at the same time. He's like, did you know that was there? And we're like, no. And he goes, what is that? And we're like, we don't know. And he goes, is it magic? We're like, yeah. He goes, how did you know? Because
you
like,
just
we were
know.
just walking. How did you know? I was like, to us, we were like, you can't feel that. And for him, it was like, it's just a painting on a wall, But for us, it was like, I was like, whoa,
It's like them rave lights. Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Pretty much, it's what it felt like. It was intense, and it was funny because I looked up the artist, because apparently it's from like some kind of like hippy dippy new wave art, kind of. They look really cool, and some of their artwork is clearly occult inspired, chaos magic inspired at certain points. Definitely looks it anyway.
So
come to our
I
side.
dropped a link in the voice text channel. So thickly in the chat, they were saying, I'll just read this to you guys since you don't have it up. There's this gay bear bar in London I used to go to called King's Arms. Very old building, wooden old pub, and upstairs there's carvings on the wall that says it's the site of the meeting of the Druidic Order. I always wondered what it meant, and I thought you smart people would know. So I found this link. I just did a quick Google search, keywords, and I popped up onto this website. But thickly, I guess this is the exact pub that you were talking about. But basically, we were trying to discern if this is a magic-y related thing that they were.
If it's the Order of the Druids, I would assume so.
That's what I would assume as well.
No, that's 100%. That's the movies were based there's movies.
Yeah, in the voice text chat, I put a link, but I don't know. I was just searching through this website here. It was, what was this? In 1781, in London, a party of gentlemen, after much deliberation, resolved upon the suggestion of one of them named Hurl or Hurley, I don't know, to find a society on those lines. What were they talking?
Wow, the last time they met was in Sweden, August of 2020.
Oh, interesting. One of the principal causes that might be attributed to its inception was the unsatisfactory condition of society at that period. It was an age of persecution and intolerance. Political and religious controversies were rampant, whilst the revolution in France created unrest in English societies. So a bunch of these guys got together because of the condition of society, what unpleasant scenes, men of respect.
What years?
1781.
1781.
I don't know, the way that this web page particular. I mean, you hear like druids, and you automatically go right to that. But
Well, here's the thing. I do know historically there was a big revival, a druid revival in the UK, during like Churchill's time. I don't remember what his time was. I just remember that he was uh, a political figure during this revival time.
mm,
And there was a big druid revival, and at that time it was, if I'm not mistaken, it
Ancient
was
Order of Druids.
well, right. So essentially it became, like I said, a revival thing, but at times too it started becoming sort of incorporating bits of Freemasonry, or at least a lot of them were Freemasons. It incorporated also a lot of ceremonial traditions like Ordo Templi Orientis,
Mm.
or Golden
Mm,
Dawn, rather. Excuse me, Golden Dawn.
for
No,
Um,
both
sure.
of those are.
oh, was it? But I wasn't sure if Ordo the OTO was too new. I get confused. My
In
time.
1781. I don't know when the
Oh, that might be new. You're right. You're right. It might
yeah.
be newer. Because I don't actually know when that was founded. I just know it's one of the big acronym orders out there.
What it
Yeah,
sounds like thickly, I don't know, for this is all just conjecture and a quick search, but I do kind of want to research more into this to find out if it's really magic adjacent, I suppose. But like what it sounds like, it was like a social club built on like trying to reform society, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they
there
were
was
not
also
occultist. Yeah.
right. There was
That
also
sounds like
a
some occultist shit. That's like
Yeah.
what DKMU kind of tried to do.
There was also, I mean, you also have to remember too, there was also a long time period, like especially there, uh, when the universities, when the people who could go to university, a lot of them were studying occultism because studying the occult was seen as the educated man's thing to do. You know what I mean? It was
Which
something that you
blows
discussed
my
in social
fucking
circles. Like it was,
mind.
closed doors with a bunch of guys who had a lot of money, who can afford, leather bound tomes, and they could study the occults, and whether they were practicing or not, I don't know. I know that there's there's a historical fiction called Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, in which the author depicts those gatherings as armchair magicians. They like to discuss magic, and they used all the words and terminology, but they couldn't manage to make a spell even if they tried. That's kind of the author's take on it. It's historical fiction, but I could imagine that a lot of it would be that as well. Fear of the church. Maybe you study it, but maybe you don't necessarily get involved. Or maybe you do.
Were they
But I
just
do
like
know
dude bros? Like
the
You
occult dude
know,
bros?
equivalent at the time, I suppose. Yeah, they were gentlemen's clubs. Um,
and there's been occultists of all different classes throughout the ages,
there
like
have been.
and different like social groups. Like it makes sense for them to come together and organize like that and have a formalized meeting space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's true. But there, you know what? And another thing that a lot of people don't know is that there was also cunning folk who were very wealthy as well, also practicing folk
Can we
traditions.
bring that fucking fad back? Like pump massive amounts of money into the occult world and make it so that like instead of these douchey tech dude bro fuck faces like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, we can have like cool witch philanthropists who like
Can't say that on
build.
Twitch. He owns us.
Oh, right. Fuck him.
I can say it. I can say he's a
No, we
fuckface.
definitely ripped him the last time we were on here. So.
I do believe that's protected under an article of free speech. As long as we're not getting into
Probably.
slander and saying things like that, then we are absolutely within free rights to say that he's a fuckhead. You know.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Um.
Oh,
The secret is this
No, go ahead.
podcast has no rights because it crosses international borders, and so there would be no court system because they would just
We've
continue with
transcended the law.
Revolution will
We've
not be
transcended the
televised.
law.
but no. But from the little bit that I know about the history of Druidism in the UK, and and just wisps of remembering the revival that happened during Churchill's time and all that. I mean, it's quite possible they did practice magic during the revival. So, but like I said, it was druidry, but very Golden Dawn. So not necessarily the animism of like the Iron Age druids. I think it's Iron Age. I think. Um, anyone could correct me. Time period. I know they came after Stonehenge. But yeah. So it
Well, we all know Stonehenge was Merlin, so that's Arthurian times.
teleporting stones from Wales.
You know, it's
That
funny
was
that you
really
mentioned Merlin
nice.
because I've been getting more and more comfortable with like the term like wizard or warlock. I think it's probably because I follow Storm, Fairy Wolf, Devon Hunter, and everyone else who lives in the damn house. The Forlocks, as they call themselves. It's probably because I follow them on the podcast Twitter account, and so like I see their posts and stuff.
Goldilocks, the 4 Goldilocks.
But like, yeah, damn, I lost my whole track. Oh yeah, getting more comfortable with the term wizard and warlock. I don't know. I kind of like
I mean,
it.
those things they're that like, but the thing is, you know what it is though, is that I know that like fiction and fantasy has kind of like, for instance, wizard, right?
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons, sword and sorcery, anything. But like the thing is that actually was like a word used, right?
Right.
Like there's actually a really awesome folklore in Wales about a wizard who there were these stones, and he cursed this castle. The castle said to be cursed and like diabolically haunted because of this, ancient Welsh wizard who cursed the castle. But the curse can't be unbroken because one of the stones has disappeared, and apparently you would need all the stones to break the curse.
That's what's
And
up.
whether it's true or not, I don't know, but people have had many experiences at this castle because the castle itself is quite old. And yeah, I'm because I'm trying to make sure. I think that there's that was a separate Welsh. I watch a lot of ghost stories. Like I like learning about like location folklore, like urban legends and stuff. So like I get like confused because there's so many interesting. There's a lot of interesting lore. I'm sorry, I'm nerding out. I apologize.
No,
Don't
all
apologize.
good.
Please continue.
There was also this really interesting story about another household that was said to be cursed and haunted by like a hag. And in the story, the hag had a familiar who was a hellhound or a fairy hound, and when the local friar comes to exorcise the house, at nighttime they say that either the doors fly open and you see the old hag walking away in her sort of very her rags of clothing as she's walking across the misty Welsh landscape away from the house. It's just really cool. Sorry.
I love it. I think Scott, you should like collect some really good stories and share them for like a Samhain air
That would be
like
fun. I could
kind
like
of
get these
episode.
stories and read them. That'd be fun.
You know what? We should do a couple story episodes. Like maybe I'll be able to get some stories I can tell during winter. We'll see how shit goes.
That'd be fun. Ooh, that'd be great. Doing like little storytelling. That'd be nice. I like that.
We can get little fireplace backgrounds.
Also, Scott, how are you liking the Twitch stream format where we just chat and kind of have like prompts from people who hop
I
in?
really love it. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie. I really
it's
like it.
fun.
It's really nice actually, and it's super comfortable actually. Like it's really comfortable. Like just like the vibe of it, like it's really nice actually.
Yeah, because it's not like we need to research a whole episode ahead of time. We can just kind of come in and chat, and then like someone brings up a prompt, and like as more people end up watching, like we'll have more things to talk about. So you'll have a lot of real interesting things to respond to.
Like even, and I'm sure you all can see how excited I got from that like one question. So like, thank you.
Yeah.
It also made me use some of my knowledge.
Mhm.
I like when I use my brains.
Mhm.
Super
Brains
obscure
is
though,
cool.
because like I try to tell Darian all the time. Like I like sometimes I'll randomly ask Darian. I'm like, Darian, who's Lori Cabot? Sounds familiar. And I'm like, God damn it, Darian. I was like, know your history. I'll just
He's
ask him
just a
these
youngin'.
random
You
things.
can't
He's like,
hold
sounds
it against
familiar.
him.
It's hard to know everybody though.
I
Like
know.
it's such a big
Mhm.
It is.
world because like you take someone who's like from like a Wiccan background or like a folk, background. Scott, you're probably the most widely read of all. You probably know more authors off the top of your head than most of us here because you read a lot of books from different, you know. Um but yeah, it's really hard to know because like I felt so bad when Rob was like, "Oh, Diana Paxson to be keynote." He was like, "Oh, I want Diana Paxson to be keynote for Pagan Pride this year," and I was like, my initial reaction is sure, but really I didn't know anything about her, but I know the recommendation was coming from Rob, so I was like, she's probably great, but let me do a little research or whatever. But I felt bad because I really had no idea, and like instantly when I said Diana Paxson, like Scott was like, ooh, and Jim was like, ooh, and and I was like, I don't know who she is. Like, and I felt bad, and then I goes beat myself up. I'm like, you're a bad witch, you're a poser,
No.
fucking loser,
Okay,
piece
but
of
you know
shit.
what?
And
Like,
then Ken messaged him and he's like, "Do you know who this lady is? Should I vote yes?"
I was like, I mean, if you have
okay.
another suggestion, but
But like it's so easy to not know people who are influential. Like let me give you two examples real quick here. Do you know who Joel Barocco is?
never heard of him.
Mm-mm.
Super influential, pretty much like one of the people you would consider the grandfathers of what we think of as modern chaos magic, in fact.
Hmm.
Like Alice Rose does an interview with him in Liber Sigillum. It's a really good interview. I go back to it every so often. He really has some good insights. He created like the 156 current with Chaos magazine like way back in like I think it was like 1980s and shit. Like big fucking deal. Here's another one. Louis Riel. You heard that name?
Nope.
I've heard of that. I can't say that I
You've heard
know
it.
though.
Rue? Okay. He is like the most famous Métis person in existence. He's like considered the person who like created the Métis Nation and founded Manitoba and was like led a revolution against the Canadian government and like was executed for like treason and shit. Like
He's the guy.
he's a big deal. He keep it real, like Louis Real.
And it's so interesting. It's like, and like, he's a big influential person and he did all that, but it's like, if you were really only people in that particular, like, box would kind of, like, know who he is. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of interesting, like, how, like, broken down, like, our social circles can be and, like, who's influential and what scheme. And, like, it's really
It's also
interesting.
kind of like a pyramid too, though, right? Because you want to find me a person who can't tell you who the fuck Britney Spears is.
True.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, Dr. Eric Cervini, he's a queer historian, and he wrote a book called, it has a wonderful title, um, Homosexuality and its war, the United States and its war against homosexuality. I
Mm.
forget what it is, but he essentially wrote like a book, a book,
Mm.
a book, of history about queer history in America. And there was a lot of stuff. Now I didn't read the whole book, but I've read like excerpts. I've read passages, things that I follow the author on Instagram and stuff like that. And he does like shorts and things like video shorts, and he'll read from his own book. And there's a lot of like even like queer highly influential people who gave us all of our rights. Names of folks that have been unfortunately lost to time.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many. I was like, I've never heard of this. I've never heard of them. I've never heard of that event that occurred here. Um, I didn't even know we had such influential things happen right here in Philly. Um, there was started by teenagers actually.
Mm.
There was a sit-in at a local restaurant here in Philly, I don't remember the year, but I can get everyone this information if they want. But three or four teenagers, queer, some trans, some gay, what have you. They were just friends, a group of queer friends who decided that they wouldn't be discriminated against by this hangout spot. And I actually have, if you live in Philly, you've actually walked past where this restaurant used to be, 17th and Walnut or something like that.
So down there, okay.
And they tons of people got involved. Like, they were like, oh, I want to be a part of it. And then tons of queer people did a sit-in, and it was actually a really big deal. You know what I mean? But
Wow.
I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying?
The part of history that we just didn't know.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, but like Sophia said, it's unfortunate, but it is true. Like, if you're a pop star, if you're, and that's not coming at pop stars. We're queer. We stand for Britney Spears. But like,
Free Britney.
I stand Lady Gaga. Let me be
Lady
clear.
Gaga.
No shade against Britney. Comrade Britney's rad, but the fashion of Lady Gaga. Oh, bestow my gay heart. Like, prior to coming out, I wanted to be her. Like, if you've ever seen me like fucking around with blonde wigs, it's because like
Channeling
a
your
great
inner
deal
Gaga.
of my aesthetic is wanting to be Lady Gaga. And I'm probably gonna eventually just like buy a Gaga wig and do her dresses and cosplay her on like stream. Because like I can do like Alice in Wonderland. Like, the fun part about streams is I get to like let all my outfits out. Like, I'm gonna do like Alice in Wonderland. I can do all pink PVC. I got a red cat suit coming on the way. Like,
cute.
you
really
fucking
cute.
wait. Sophia's gonna have a good fucking outfit for every episode, okay?
What you guys get is my hair that really needs to be cut, and I just worked all day, and I have a t-shirt on.
Hold on though. Jay can get some like real cool t-shirts going on. Like, it's an option,
You know what t-shirt I do have? I have one of Nicotine's t-shirts. It'll be fine.
Ooh, Nicotine,
I have
that's cool.
one of her early shirts that she put out.
We can even start putting out our own t-shirts, and Jay can be our model.
Right? I love it. We are coming up. We are at an hour and a little bit more. So I was just curious if there was any concluding thoughts that we wanted to kind of like wrap up on.
Well, this
Y'all
isn't
are
really
lucky I
a
put
concluding
pants on.
thought, but what Sophia was saying, it reminded me. I was just watching Will and Grace, and
Love that show.
There was a really cute scene where Jack meets his grandson, and he says to the grandson, because the grandson says, "Do you know Lady Gaga?" And he says, "I sewed my own meat dress." And I was like, I could see Sophia doing that.
Speaking of Jack from Will and Grace,
I was appalled at the meat dress, and I was like, she's gone too far.
A show that you guys should watch if you haven't yet. It's on Netflix. It's called QForce. You watch it?
I don't watch TV. I destroy Guardians and Crucible.
But if you ever do stumble into the world of Netflix, QForce, it's about, they're a bunch of queer secret agents.
It's so good.
And the main guy is the same guy, Jack from Will and Grace. He voices the main guy.
So everyone on the show is all the main cast is queer.
Yes, very very good show. Highly recommend. But yeah, any concluding thoughts from anyone else before we wrap up here tonight? No, everybody good?
I was just gonna ask, how do y'all feel about maybe starting to go a little bit longer with the live streams, because they don't like how long you run for determines how often you pick up viewers, and we don't need to edit them like we did with the old ones, so like maybe just like an hour and a half, not like crazy long, you know what I mean?
Maybe I will say this, like it's really hard for me to go for more than an hour because I'm tired after, like, I'm really tired.
To give you an idea, so my days are 12 hours now. I wake up at 5:45. I leave my house at 6:30, and I get home at 6:30.
Yeah. It's kind of hard for me to go over an hour. But I'm not opposed to, like, on another day of the week or whatever, like if we could really get into maybe like doing more like spontaneous kind of streams, like maybe play Destiny for a bit, me and you, Sophia.
Maybe. Just the reason I ask is because, like, if we ever do have the time to go a little bit longer or energy, that's just like an option, right?
That'd be
Because
cool.
I know we used to do a lot longer episodes. Like we had like a 3-hour episode or some shit with Fish. And I'm not suggesting we return to our feature film length episodes, but having
Well, that
a
actually
longer
got cut
one.
down into 2.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But watching we don't have to do like super long ones, but we can stretch it a little bit for Twitch here and there.
I suppose, yeah.
Maybe.
Depending on our energy levels.
Mhm.
But yeah, so with that, I think we're gonna wrap it up here for tonight. Thank you for anyone who came to hang out with us. Ken, don't know if you're still here. Thickly, thank you for coming and hanging out.
Thank you for the question.
Yes, thank you for the question, and I really want to dig more into that. I want to see
Me
if
too.
I can tie the ancient order of the druids to anything actually occulty. So I'm actually very curious about that.
Yeah.
So
That's
maybe
another advantage of being in chat too. You show up and you contribute, your question gets answered, and you get a name shout out.
But yeah, so with that, we are going to I guess sign out, log out, head back to the real world, and we will see you all later.
Bye.
Bye.